Zlatan Ibrahimović. You hear that name and you think of, what? Incredible goals, right? That supreme confidence, a career that just went on and on. But here's the thing. His story didn't end on the pitch. No, no. In fact, that's where his real story, the one about power, is just getting started.
See, today's Zlatan isn't just some retired legend kicking back. He's quietly become one of the most powerful figures in all of European football. And it's not by accident. He's executing this long-term strategy that has nothing to do with scoring goals anymore. This is the story of how a player became, well, an architect of power.
All right, so to really get our heads around his master plan, we've got to look at where he is right now. And you can forget all that stuff about farewell tours or just being a club ambassador. Nah, Zlatan has moved into the real seat of influence.
Just take a look at this. Zlatan's position here, he's not just a senior advisor in name only. He's an operating partner at Redbird Capital, the company that actually owns AC Milan. The owner himself, Jerry Cardinale, brought him in personally to be that crucial bridge between the money guys and the locker room. He's the guy who translates the language of finance into the language of football and back again.
And you can already see his influence. It's not just talk. He was a driving force in some major signings. And he's personally mentoring stars like Rafael Leao, trying to unlock that next level of their potential. What's crazy is his power isn't tied to some fancy office. It comes from having a direct line to the owner and, a lifetime of experience. That gives him total freedom to shape the club's future.
So all of this, it brings us to the core idea we're talking about today, the Ibrahimović doctrine. And let's be crystal clear, this is no accident. This is a lifelong, calculated strategy to turn his athletic greatness into something way more permanent. We're talking institutional power, corporate influence, and yeah, a dynastic legacy.
But to really get this doctrine, you have to go back, way back. You got to understand where it all came from. Because this isn't some strategy cooked up in a boardroom. It was forged in the fire of a really tough childhood.
So Zlatan grew up in Rosengård, a district in Malmö, Sweden. And his upbringing, well, it was marked by scarcity. He's talked about an empty fridge, a fractured family, and just always feeling like an outsider. This kind of environment, it doesn't just build resilience. It installs a survivalist mentality in you from day one.
So for a young Zlatan, football was never, ever just a game. It was his only way out. It was a tool for him to build an identity, to escape his circumstances. And that forged this fierce, individualistic drive that would pretty much define his entire career. And yeah, it often put him at odds with the whole team-first culture of the sport.
And it was that drive that propelled him into a career that, when you look at it, seems less like a typical footballer's journey and more like a strategic conquest. A tour designed to rack up skills, trophies, and build a massive international brand. I mean, just look at his career path. It really does read like a strategic tour of Europe's top leagues. He goes from the technical school of Ajax to the tactical boot camp of Italy, then to these massive, star-studded projects at PSG and Manchester United. Every single move was a masterclass in adaptation. He was absorbing new philosophies, but always imposing his own unique will on the team.
And the results? Well, they speak for themselves. He didn't just play in these leagues. He conquered them. Winning titles in 4 different countries, that proved his core belief. His individual brilliance was the formula for success, no matter the team, no matter the system. But there was one place where that formula completely fell apart. His time at FC Barcelona. It wasn't just another transfer. It was a total collision of ideologies. And honestly, it probably became the single most important learning experience of his entire career.
This right here was the fundamental conflict. You had Zlatan, the ultimate dominant individual, versus Pep Guardiola's Barcelona, the ultimate collective system. In their tiki-taka philosophy, that style built on just endless short passes, no single player was ever bigger than the machine. Zlatan went from being a tactical asset to a tactical problem. The lesson was brutal, but it was clear. A singular force like him can't thrive inside a system that demands everyone be the same. And trust me, he would never make that mistake again.
Now, this understanding of systems and his own value, it didn't just stay on the pitch. Zlatan the entrepreneur is every bit as audacious as Zlatan the player. But his journey in the business world, well, it also included a pretty major failure. Yeah, his path off the pitch was definitely not perfect. This number, a loss of over 20 million euros, that's from his clothing brand A to Z. It was a massive, very public failure, and probably a harsh reminder that even Zlatan wasn't invincible in the business world.
But, like any great strategist, he learned and he adapted. So when the paddle market completely collapsed in Sweden, he didn't hesitate. He looked at the situation, he cut his losses, donating the facilities that weren't performing, and then pivoted the entire business to focus on the growing Italian market. It was a shrewd, unsentimental, but brilliant business correction.
And that brings us to the final, and maybe the most revealing pillar of the Ibrahimović doctrine. See, this isn't just about his own legacy anymore. This is about building a dynasty.
So, meet Maximilian and Vincent Ibrahimović, his two sons. And they aren't just kicking a ball around in some youth academy. They are now professional players, fully integrated into the AC Milan system, the very same club their father now helps to run from the very top.
Just think about how quickly this dynasty was cemented. In 2025 alone, one son makes his professional debut and gets a senior team call-up, while the other signed his first ever professional contract. And all of this happened inside the club their father is now helping to run. It's incredible.
And this is what truly separates him from his great rivals. While Ronaldo and Messi are still global ambassadors, the faces of leagues and brands, Zlatan moved into the back rooms of power. We're talking private equity and sporting management. He's chosen influence over image, real power over just being a profile.
So, Zlatan has successfully transformed his on-field legacy into real, tangible boardroom power. And now, he's building a footballing dynasty from within one of the world's biggest clubs. The player's journey is over. The kingmaker's reign, well, that has just begun. So the only question left is, what's the next move?